Jackie Buntan taking on Amber Kitchen. That's going down this Friday. Amazon Prime, 8 o'clock Eastern. I got to tell you this. So, I have a different opinion of Amber Kitchen than what you will have most people say. You will always hear about how fast she is and you'll hear about her combinations. I see it differently. I think Amber is one of the hardest punchers in the sport. How do you come to that conclusion, Chael? She doesn't have the same amount of knockouts. She's not known for that. She's known for her combination. She's known for her footwork. How do you come out and tell the world that you think she's one of the hardest punchers? You want to know why? What's a hard punch, right? And that is more philosophical than you might think. There was a thing, a thing. You could go and do this at the fair. You could go and do this at the local arcade. Your dad drops you off and he gives you a pocket full of quarters, comes and pick you up a couple hours later. But there was a thing. You could go and hit this thing and there was a meter in it. And it would tell you, and it would go up. And Francis Ngannou did this, and he set the all-time record. Do you guys remember that? Well, I don't want to take away from Francis Ngannou. What are you talking about? He set the all-time record. How do you know what the all-time record is? We had one of those punching bags. It used to be called Wonderland. And you didn't need a pocket full of quarters. They would let you get in for a nickel a game. Now, they countered that by charging you just to walk through the door, but it was a nickel a game. Every kid that I knew whose birthday party I was ever invited to was thrown at Wonderland. What do you mean Francis has the all-time record? You have no idea what the record would be. There's not like a database or a commission over this. But when Francis hit he hit it hard, gave him the record. But this went on. People were putting this was on Sports Center. Dana White went and told everybody he's the hardest puncher in the world. Just look at the number. Due to this thing. Before this thing came out, the thing used to be done in the form of a speed bag. Right? You guys ever see that one? I wasn't the only one taking out the nickels at Wonderland. Remember that speed bag? But you got to hit it one time. Boom! Hit it one time and it would register. And that was a big deal. I remember all the boys would be lining up. And it was a big deal. They would talk about it. They would talk about it that day. They would talk about it at school the next week. Which one hit harder? And it always go the way that you thought. The bigger kid, right? And in my day, that meant you weighed 90 pounds. But then somebody else is 65 pounds, right? You got these. And one of the smaller guys would pass up the bigger guy, and the bigger guy's feelings would be hurt. Everybody would be surprised, but it would like affect his ego. This is a real thing. Okay. Then we learn the trick. There's a glitch in the game, and the glitch was there from the beginning. And if you've got the speed bag dangling down, this happens to be where something called a sensor is located. So the closer you hit to the bottom of the bag, i.e. the closer you hit to the sensor, the higher the score you got. So they did away with the speed bag, and they brought this new thing in. And they declared Francis Ngannou the hardest hitter in the world. I don't tease anyone. I'm just sharing with you what's a hard punch. It's a little bit subjective. I fought 51 men in 3 different weight classes, and a lot of people would come to me, they'd ask me who was the best. I was the only one who had fought Fedor, Jon Jones, and Anderson Silva, which were these were the 3 GOATs. So they would come to me, Chael, who do you think was best? You'd be asked these different questions, but one of the questions I also got asked over time is who hits the hardest. Now, my answer then is the same as my answer now, Michael Bisping. People go, Chael, how? Compared to Wanderlei Silva, who's punched you, compared to Rampage Jackson, how can you possibly say it was Michael Bisping? Michael sticks, he moves, he doesn't even think he punches hard. He thinks he punches a lot. How can you say it was hard? Well, because it's a subjective term. It hurt more. Michael Bisping's punch hurt more than any other punch, and I will agree. It lacks some of the KO-ness that other guys had. I will agree to that. There's a level in punching. Okay? You can hit so hard, it creates a thud. And nobody will explain it better to you than I just did. It creates a thud. It'll almost like it turns, even if it's for a moment, a millisecond, it's this thud where the lights go out and the lights come back. And it's a very unique feeling, but it isn't painful. When you have that level of thud, when you get over a certain point, maybe the lights go out and they don't come right back on. But everybody that wakes up that's ever been knocked out will tell you, yeah, it didn't hurt. I just went to sleep. They're not saying that to cover ththemselves. They're not saying that to be cutesy. It's the truth. A punch gets to a certain point where it doesn't hurt anymore. It does something else. It numbs you, whether that's your body or your mind. Michael Bisping's weren't that hard. They weren't hard enough they were hard enough to hurt. To make you go, ouch. Stop doing that. That's the way it is. So if anybody asks me who hit you the hardest, it's Bisping. That doesn't mean his was most likely to knock me out, but I don't agree that that should be the interpretation. I don't agree with that. It's that one right in between, that one that keeps you awake, but now you're a little bit different. And now it's coming again, and it's coming again, and it's coming again, and it's coming again. When I watch Amber Kitchen fight, when I watch Amber Kitchen connect with somebody, don't forget, she does Muay Thai. So now you got knees, you got elbow, you got clinch work. She's not afraid to go to the body, which I know people work on every single day in the gym, and I know coaches, and I know in the heavy bag, but you don't see it a ton in competition. Not like people would lead you to believe. She will go to the body. Amber Kitchen, she'll be messing with you upstairs. She'll be distraught. Boom, boom. I've seen her go to the body repeatedly before, which is extremely rare. I've seen Jose Aldo do that. I've seen Frankie Edgar do that. I'm running out of numbers. And I've seen Amber Kitchen do it, where you will go to the body and you will go back, or you'll go to the body and you'll go back to the body. It is generally always head, body, right back to head. And when I watch her fight and I watch some of these strikes, I think, I don't want to get hit with that. And I don't think anybody else does too. I think she's one of the hardest hitters in the sport. And please don't tell me what her knockouts are versus her TKOs versus her decision. I'm aware. But I want some dialogue. Argue with me. Argue with me that you know somebody in that weight class that hits harder than Kitchen. But then tell me why. Tell me how you got to that conclusion. I think I bring up a really good point. There is an in-between on the punches. The harder punch is the one most likely to knock you out. Maybe. Like, that's not... Okay, that's fair. If somebody told me that, that's fair. But when somebody asks you who hits the hardest, they are asking you, all the people that punched you, who do you not want to be punched by the most? I think that person is the hardest puncher. Hardest to deal with. Hardest to recover from. Hardest to tolerate. Hardest to get your mind around. I think there's a lot of things that come after hardest. My career, Bisping's the answer. When I watch women's Muay Thai, I think it's Amber Kitchen. Fight me.